funny, I already know it's gonna be such a pain to edit this because I talk way too much. Way too much. Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for this video. It's another wrap-up, and wow, I can't believe it's April already. It's just like, what? I don't know, time doesn't exist this year. It's crazy. But anyway, this wrap-up will be a little bit different from the wrap-ups I usually do. So first of all, I won't be talking about the books in the order that I read them in, which is something I usually do. Second, I won't be talking about these two books, Aragon and Eldest, because I'm planning to do a whole video on rereading the Inheritance cycle, and so I don't want to talk about them here too. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And the third reason why this video is going to be a little bit different is that I'm also going to talk about two books that I'm currently reading. So not just about the books that I finished in March, but also about these two books. And the reason is that they are both quite long reads that I don't think I will finish anytime soon. I think if I'll finish them by summer, it's quite an achievement. I don't think I will though, but yeah, I'm just gonna quickly talk about them, talk about my opinion, like what I think about them so far and stuff, so yeah. So in March, I finished 6 books. One of them was an audiobook, but I still count it, so yeah. The first book I want to talk about is actually the one audiobook that I listened to, and it's A Princess in Theory. So I loved it. I know that's quite a spoiler, but I loved it. And I saw it recommended by a booktuber, but I can't remember who. I can't remember, but I'm so glad for that recommendation. So actually, I didn't have super high expectations because even though it sounded like exciting and stuff, it just sounded a bit too much like a fairy tale. And I don't know, I like romance books, but when it's a bit too sweet and cotton candy-like, I'm not really into it. And this literally has a premise of a fairy tale, so I was like, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be into that, but it turns out I was. So before we talk about the romance part, which I believe is the main part for many people, I would like to say a few things that I really liked about this book that were not romance related. So first of all, I really liked that the author included a few subtle remarks on how it is to be a woman, especially a woman of color in science, like trying to pursue a scientific career. I think that was great, and there were also a few other times when we could see, like when the reader could see how Letty's life was impacted by her race, which I think is great. And I'm really glad the author included that, because even though it's such a romance book, I think if you omitted certain topics, it would just be really unrealistic, so yeah. Also, it's really important to say this is an own voice book. I forgot to say that at the beginning, so yeah, it's an own voice. I also really loved the side characters, especially Akatsi and Enya, like, oh my gosh. And when I found out that these two actually have their own books, where they are the main characters, I was like, yes, I'm so excited to read those, because especially Lakotsu was so freaking cool. Like, oh my god, I'm a fan. Now let's get to the romance part. So first of all, I really liked Letty. I think she was great. She was a strong character, and she didn't take anyone's bullshit, especially Tabiso, so I appreciated that. What I didn't like about her too much was that I felt like every time she'd think about Thabiso, or like not every time, but a lot of the times when she think about Thabiso, it was very sexual. It was not really in like a romantic way. It was more like, oh my god, he's so hot, I literally just want to touch him, stuff like that, which I understand, but it felt like it's a bit too much because, okay, this is a spoiler, but like it's a romance book, so I think we all know what's gonna happen. So like she did fall in love with him, but every time she like think about him was always about how sexy he is. So you couldn't really see the love part like in her thoughts, but at the same time you could see it in her actions. So I think maybe she was just like trying to protect her her feelings and herself, and in order to do that she only thought about him like sexually and not romantically. I don't know, it would make sense because Letty was a very closed off person. She was really trying to like not get too close to people too much so she wouldn't get hurt, and she only had like one close friend, and yeah, she didn't really open up, so it would make sense. But it did bother me a little bit because, you know, like he did, for example, he did this one nice thing for her, and instead of thinking how nice it was, she was like, oh my god, his hands are so hot. And like, I get it, he was hot, like I get it, but at the same time I was a bit like, eh. So yeah. Also, while we're talking about this book is an adult romance, so it is steamy. So beware if you want to read it. It's not some cute young adult. It's a full-on adult romance. So yeah. What I also didn't like very much about the book was the pace in the second half, because it was so weirdly paced. It felt too slow and too rushed at the same time, which is kind of weird. And also there was this plot twist at the end, which had nothing to do with the romance really. And I just felt like that was a bit too underdeveloped, and I felt like it was just there for the sake of something to happen and not because it made that much sense. So yeah, but look, I was here for the romance part, and that was great. I especially liked how the author dealt with the redemption arc because, well, I really don't like when in a book somebody does something that hurts the other person, and then they just apologize and the other person just like magically forgives them and that's it. Like, I don't like it because it just feels like, you know, it's not gonna happen in real life, because if you get hurt, it's gonna take time to heal. And in this book, it took time, quite a long time, and I really loved that. I also loved that Tabiso knew he messed up. Like, he knew that what he did was wrong. He knew that it will take time for Letty to forgive him, if she ever does. And he accepted that, and he didn't push Letty into anything. He didn't push her to forgive him. He didn't gaslight her. He always asked like what's okay and what's not, like, and that was great. I mean, it's kind of the bare minimum, but we love the bare minimum, right? And yeah, so overall I really enjoyed this book. It was so sweet and it really made my day better. I would also recommend listening to it as an audiobook because the narrator was amazing. So I would definitely recommend to any romance lovers out there. Just like I said before, it's not YA, it is steamy. So yeah. So the next book I'm going to talk about is actually a Czech book. So like in my previous videos, if you don't care, just feel free to skip, because this book is not translated and I don't think it ever will get translated. So yeah, if you do care, it's called Baletky, aka the Ballet Dancers. First of all, can we appreciate the cover? Like, it's really cool, I think. It's a very interesting book, to say the least. I enjoyed it quite a lot, actually. It hit me way more than I thought it would. Like, I knew it's a heavy read. I knew it contains some pretty heavy topics like sexual abuse or drug abuse, and also the ballet world itself can be really tough. And I knew that, but it still had quite a big impact on me. And yeah, I would not recommend it to someone who's maybe struggling with mental health at the moment, because yeah. So what's it about? Well, ballet dancers, duh. But namely, it's written in the first person, and actually it combines short chapters and diary entries. And it's partly autobiographical because the woman who wrote it is a ballet dancer. And I think the autobiographical part were the diary entries, and then the chapters were fiction. But I'm not sure. It may have been just mix. I don't know. But even if like half of what happened there actually happened to her, oh my god. Oh my god. But anyway, this book is set in the 90s, and the 90s were a bit wild here. I think they were wild everywhere, I'm not sure, but they were definitely wild here because in 1989 we got freed of the communist regime, and so in the 90s people were free for the first time, like in such a long time, and they went a bit crazy, yeah, which is understandable. And so the 90s were just wild, and she was a teenager in Prague, the capital, basically by herself. She lived with other ballet dancers, and it was not pretty. Like, some parts of it really weren't pretty. And yeah, like the whole book was just really, really tough, and it hit me more than I thought it would. I don't know. So what I liked the most about this book was the way it was written, because the short chapters are really short and like to the point. There's nothing, there are no like unnecessary descriptions. I mean, I love long, slow books, but I feel like this book really benefited from the format of really short, to the point chapters combined with the diary entries. It was really interesting. So yeah, I really liked that. But yeah, it was a really good book. I'm really glad that I read it. And if it gets translated, or if you speak Czech, I definitely recommend. Just, yeah, here are some trigger warnings, because they are not listed at the beginning of the book, because Czech Republic is just not ready for the conversation about trigger warnings, apparently, so we don't have them in books. So the next book I'm going to talk about, I actually have been reading for a while, but I finished it in March, so that's why it's here. And it's Feminists, Don't Wear Pink and Other Lies. I'm really glad I read this book, even though I don't think it was 100% for me. But I'm glad I read it, and I'm really glad that I own it, especially that I own it in Czech, because first of all, I'm glad that I could support the publisher's decision to publish this in Czech, because feminism is an important topic, and we don't have enough books about it here. And so yeah, I'm glad that this exists. And also, one of my favorite like bookstagrammers, Czech bookstagrammers, wrote like one essay for this, for the Czech edition. So yeah, I'm really glad that I have it. Now let's get to why this book wasn't really for me. So I don't want to say I didn't like the book, because I did. I liked some parts of it, but I was just like, overall I was just a bit underwhelmed. Which I think is because the book is not really for me anymore. Like, I'm not the target audience. That's because this book feels sort of like Feminism 101. And there's nothing wrong with that. On the contrary, I think it's great that this book exists. But for me, none of the essays were really like revolutionary or anything. And yeah, like for sure, it was cool to read other people's perspectives on feminism and like how they view feminism and how they became feminists. Like, that was cool, but it wasn't really, I don't know, like groundbreaking for me, I guess. And it makes me sad, because I really wanted to love this book. I got it for Christmas and I was just so excited about it, and then I was like, meh. However, I did appreciate the book recommendations at the end, because it mentioned some really interesting titles I didn't know about, and I always like to expand my TBR, even though it's really long by now, but I still like to expand it, especially with feminist books. So I would recommend this book to probably anyone who doesn't know much about feminism. I think it's a great start to, and like intro to feminism, like I said before, like a Feminism 101, and I think it's great. Or if you like to read essays or other people's opinions on stuff, then this is also great. However, if you want something more theoretical, I would probably recommend something else. Alright, so that's the end of the actual wrap-up part of this video. And now I would like to talk about these two books. I would like to talk about first of all, Virginia Woolf's Selected Diaries, and then about Edward W. Said's Orientalism. You know what, I'll start with this book. So first of all, I will be probably making a separate video on this when I finish it, if I finish it, because I'm like here, like I'm literally at the beginning. So the reason I've been reading this so freaking slowly, I think there are actually two reasons. First, it really reminds me of the books that I read for school, because it's written in sort of like an academic language, which is understandable and like I don't mind, but I'm reading a lot for school, like a lot. And so after a day full of school readings, I'm not really in the mood to like pick up a book that's really similar to that. I mean, unfortunately, because I'm really interested in this book, but I just can't. And the second reason is that I really want to go through this mindfully and really think about it, which is why I have that many like post-its, and I actually have wait, hold on. Like I actually have some notes in the margins too. So like I'm really trying to read it almost like a textbook, but not like a textbook. It's more interesting than textbooks, but I just want to read it mindfully and really think about it and really engaged with the text. And so of course it's taking a bit longer. So the reason I picked up this book is that I found the subject fascinating and also very important, because I think that it is because of this notion of Orientalism, why people have the ideas about some parts of Asia that they do. I think Orientalism is the core reason why some people see Asia as a monolith, which it isn't, obviously. And so yeah, I wanted to know more. And also I love is maybe a strong word, but I really enjoy reading classic literature because I enjoy learning about history. And in classic literature you can often see racism and colonial ideas and stuff like that, and just referring to Asia like as the Orient and like putting it all together. And so I'm really interested to see how the author's gonna talk about the classical authors and philosophers and their notion of the Orient, and like I don't know, I just want to see him pick it apart. I'm just really interested in it. That's that. The reason I wanted to talk about this book here, even though I'm just like in the beginning, is that I wanted to mention I'm reading it, maybe inspire someone else to read it. It would be kind of great to buddy read this, so if anyone is interested, let me know. I just want to say that I will probably read this for a while because, like I said before, it's similar to what I read for school, and school is draining and I want to devote my full attention to this book, so that's why I will probably not finish it by summer. I think I will read a big chunk of it during summer, but yeah. Next book I want to talk about, like I said, Virginia Woolf's Selected Diaries. A little disclaimer, this is not all of her diaries. No. All of her diaries were published, I think, in 1970 something. Not sure. Like all of her diaries were published, but it's like 5 books. And first of all, I didn't really find it anywhere, and also I didn't really want 5 books or Virginia Woolf's life, even though her life is interesting. I don't think I need to read all of it. So I was really glad to find this curated selection of her diaries. As with the previous book I talked about, I'm at the very beginning. I don't know if you can even see it. Yeah, I'm at the very beginning, but I can already tell that this is so fascinating. As with Orientalism, I'm also annotating it, but a bit differently, because Orientalism I'm actually not only highlighting stuff, I'm also writing in the margins my own thoughts, whereas here I'm just highlighting you know, some interesting parts, some like quotes and stuff, but I'm not writing anything in the margins because I don't know, it just feels weird to write in someone's diary. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it feels weird, so yeah, I'm only highlighting stuff. I might also, I'm so sorry, my voice is like so rough because I have allergies, which I can't do anything about, so yeah, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, back to the book. I might be doing a separate video on this too, but I'm not sure. I'll see. So that's it for this video. I feel like towards the end I sort of lost my ability to speak properly, so I'm sorry about that. I hope you understood some of my rambling about these books, because yeah, I just wanted to briefly talk about them because I found both of them fascinating. I didn't really prepare it. I just wanted to talk about them, and then I got a bit tangled up in all of it. So, like I said, I'm sorry about that. I hope it still made some sense. Let me know what you're currently reading and what books you read in March, or what was your favorite book that you read in March. So yeah, let me know. I always like to see what other people are reading because I'm nosy. So that's that. And yeah, I I hope you enjoyed the video, even if it was a bit chaotic, but like that's the name of my channel anyway. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.